Okay, so now, again in question 7, I'll be talking about how there are similarities between our film and other films and how we use the cinematography elements to show that. So in this mid shot of Henri, Adriana, and Belle, we can see quite a lot of flesh, and especially the knuckles and the way in which Henri's hand has been wrapped around Adriana's jacket. This is similar to in Memento, where Christopher Nolan uses multiple flesh shots to show the tattoos and that iconography within the movie. These two images relate a lot because of the way in which the themes are used throughout the movie. For example, the relevance and relationship with violence is strongly repeated throughout the movie, and this is shown in the way Omri is grabbing Adriana's jacket. And throughout the movie, the tattoos are very important within the life and the way in which the movie Memento develops. We then move on to the establishing shots. In Fight Club, we see the scene where Ed Norton is on his own, and the composition is used to show him being rather isolated within these large buildings and these large framings. And this is similar to the way in which we wanted to shoot a numerous amount of establishing shots within our film. One of them being the branch, and how it is focused on, and the back drop of the forest is completely faded out, and this shows the isolation of the branch within the forest, which is relevant to the way in which Belle feels throughout her life, and we can see Belle's hair in the shot, and this is what we wanted to show that feeling. So establishing shots there, that's how we use them. In The Machinist, there is a shot of Christian Bale where he's in the room with his prostitute slash lover, and there's a lovely use of the mid shot there and the medium shot, which is what we wanted to go for in the dinner scene. Let alone it being a medium shot, it's a wide shot, and we wanted to show that by getting a lot of the plates and the glasses and the candles around the shots in the dinner table scene, and that's why we used, and that's why this shot relates to the shot in The Machinist. The shot of Edward Norton with the gun in his mouth in Fight Club is very poignant and very clear. It's a very clear shot, and it's a close up, but not an extreme close up, just a normal close up. And the thing I like about this shot is the gun and how relevant that prop is to the shot, and how that makes the shot so powerful itself. In the shot of Belle in Needle and Thread, we've got a few props around her, but the prop in particular that I want to focus on is the teddy bear that she's holding in her hand. She's actually squeezing that teddy bear and squeezing the blood out of the sewing out the back of the teddy bear. That's a rather disturbing thing to think about, especially with a child holding a teddy bear. And this is why I think these two shots relate a lot. Obviously, not in a similar depth, but I think they relate in the underlying tone behind them. We will then move on to the another shot where Belle is with her teddy bears in the garden. Um, Again, this shot from Memento and this shot of the teddy bears relates to how important specific props are throughout a film, and that's why these iconographies that are used are so important and repeated so often throughout the film. the three films, obviously, that I've put in this little collage that I've made are Memento, The Machinist, and Fight Club, because they're the three films I did analyses of when I was talking about films that I researched. So that's why I related these films to my film Needle and Thread. Again, talking about props and iconography, this is another prime example of how important they are and how often they're repeated throughout the film, especially in Memento, using that as a main example. Extreme close-ups of eyes. I love this shot in Fight Club and in my film as well. I think you can tell so much behind the eyes of what both of these characters are thinking, and that's why I think we used a shot very similar to the one in Fight Club to show this emotion, and I think we portrayed and demonstrated them being similar very well. Again, in our shot in Needle and Thread of Henri the father and the shot of the character in Machinist, Trevor, they relate so clearly because you can see how much they are in deep thought. And what I wanted to do was both get them. I wanted to get Marcel's moustache in and cut off the top of his hair, similar to this shot of the Machinist. And I think we've done that compositionally extremely well. Now, thinking about the last thing that I'm going to be talking about, again, I'll go back to the idea of props and iconography and how important they are. In The Machinist, this photo is repeated so often, and it becomes a trigger for the audience, and we seem to realise how important this is. Similar to the organs within Needle and Thread, they resemble how brutal Belle's mind is and how traumatized she clearly is about these psychological thoughts. And I think this is really important to show and repeat throughout the movie, as this is the key theme that we want to keep developing. All these images, I think, are just really important to think about when creating a film, and that's why I've talked about them now within the codes and conventions of question 7. So, yeah.